Hey there, all you ghouls and goblins. Radio 85.9 proudly presents Horror Zoid with your hosts, Stevie Scares and Natalie Nightmare, talking all things horror from the 80s, 90s, and today. Today's episode is brought to you by Morgue Munchies, the best snack for your dirt nap. Morgue Munchies. Welcome back to another episode of Horror Zoid, everybody. I'm Stevie Scares.
And I'm Natalie Nightmare.
And today we're talking all about Stranger Danger.
Stranger danger, stranger danger.
This is our PSA out there to everybody to warn you about Stranger Danger. If you're not familiar with what Stranger Danger is, or if you don't get the joke that we're trying to tell here, the common phrase that people use, tell kids, if you're out in public, you see a stranger, yell Stranger Danger and run away.
Yep.
That's what we were taught as kids.
Yep.
That's what they're still teaching kids, I believe. At least I hope they are. In horror movies, Stranger Danger seems to be like 90% of the fucking plot points in the movies. It's
Honestly,
just Stranger Danger.
Yeah, like as far back as picking up the hitchhiker in Texas Chainsaw. Like things can go awry.
Right. There are so many great examples in horror of Stranger Danger and not trusting people. And, I mean, the list goes on and on. We can literally list all of them. So we had to narrow it down to a few of our favorites. And we picked some good ones. And you'll see what we've got in store for you. But before we get to that, let's get to some of our housekeeping notes. All the usual stuff applies. All the same rules apply. If you dig the show, leave us a review, preferably a 5-star review, wherever you're listening to this podcast. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, we don't care. We will take all 5-star reviews.
Yes.
And if you think we're garbage and you want to leave us a 1-star review, be honest. We're not going to... Fuck. How can we be mad at you if you're being honest with us?
Be honest. Yeah, and I mean, if it's legitimately something we can improve on, then we'll take the criticism.
If anybody knows how fucked up the two of us are, it's us. We get it, guys. And the fact that you choose to listen to this every week, I don't know what that says about you.
Are you guys okay?
Yeah, really, you should be looking at yourselves in the mirror here, not really at us. Go ahead and email us, too, while you're at it. If you're going to leave us a 5-star review, email us. Don't just, if you got some private thoughts, you can say what you want to say publicly in the review, but you want those private thoughts, you want to talk shit about us, go ahead and send them to us. horrorzoidpod@gmail.com. Of course, I'm joking. Nobody's going to send us anything too hateful,
they
hopefully.
might. We say this every week.
Every week.
So far, we've not gotten any hate mail. But
No
you never
chirps,
know.
nothing. We're waiting for it.
This could be the week.
This could be. Fingers crossed. Also, you can financially contribute to the podcast. We've talked about it before. We do plan on launching Patreon this year with some goodies, some little bonus content for all you Zoids to get your fingers on.
Including... Horrorzoid merch, gonna be official t-shirts, all that fun shit. You can get it.
That's right. Merch will be dropping. We've got Horrorzoid merch ideas, different categories of stuff that we can send your way. And we're gonna start doing some more stuff too. We're gonna engage in some some giveaways and some fun shit like that. So anything you guys have in mind that you would like to see, that you feel like would incentivize you to participate and engage with us, fucking let us know. horrorzoidpod@gmail.com. Send us an email, or we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're all on all the good shit, and our DMs are open, as I've said. So fucking slide in, tell us what you think would be good content.
Slide in before we close them.
That's right, before we have to, because the fucking crazies are out there. And as with everything else, horrorzoid.com, it literally has all of our links up there. So if you're thinking about switching to a new site and you want to know where you can listen to the podcast, check it out. If you got a friend who's listening or wants to listen, let them go to horrorzoid.com. All the links are up there.
Yep, absolutely.
Moving on to shout-outs.
Our shout-outs are exciting but equally disappointing this week. I'm going to tell you guys why real quick. Of course, every Monday, we post a question of the week which pertains to what we are going to record. And we just like to get our juices flowing, get your brains going, and see what you might think. And we love it whenever you guys mention a movie that we may not have seen. Unfortunately, even though we had a lot of fun doing our video about Stranger Danger, and if you haven't seen it, go to TikTok and watch it.
It was a blast.
Stevie Scares educates you on Stranger Danger while asking our question, and we got no fucking comments.
No comments. A lot of people liked it. A lot of people saw it. So we're really happy about that.
Yes, we appreciate that.
But yeah, it didn't get quite the same engagement that we normally do. So yeah, not any shout outs to give for the video, but have a really cool shout out from Reddit. So for everybody who doesn't know, I like to share our shit on Reddit, the YouTube videos that Natalie does every week, our audio feed. I like to share it wherever it is allowed on Reddit. And thankfully, it has reached a few of you out there. One being a gentleman by the name of Matt Alex, who responded to one of the posts I put up on Reddit for Horror Zoid. And he had these kind words to say. He said, "Hey, Stevie and Natalie, I checked out Horror Zoid because of this post, and I'm digging it. I don't agree with y'all all the time, and we have acknowledged several times. That's not what we're here for. We're not here for you to agree with us. We want you to have your own opinions, and if you like a movie, cool. If you don't like a movie, cool.
Cool.
But he said, which I love in a podcast, so he's on the same page. Matt's on the same page. But he also said he's right there with us. He loves Halloween 3, and he said Natalie has to watch The Mist, which... that has been our mission as Zoids, to get Natalie to watch The Mist and Hostel 2, remember. So if you follow Natalie on social media, hound her about that. But he said, it's been great thinking about your perspectives on films I've seen. You definitely have a new fan. We're happy to hear it, Matt. He said, I'll give your show a shout out on the next episode of his show entitled Horror Show Hot Dog. Hopefully, he said, hopefully I can send some listeners your way. I look forward to more of your episodes in the future. Have a good one. I responded to him on the post, but really I just want to take this time to give Matt a shout out in his show, Horror Show Hot Dog. It's not often we can link up with other shows.
First off, Horror Show Hot Dog is a really cool fucking name.
Right, dope name, right?
And hopefully if you guys are listening to us and you've never heard of Horror Show Hot Dog, you can head over there and give them a listen as well.
Yeah, go. Matt and a few other guys have a great time doing the show. I've been able to sample a little bit since reading this message, and it just looks like they have a great time. And we appreciate the shout out, Matt. We're here to return the favor. So Horror Show Hot Dog. If you're not listening to it, looks like they're on their 451st fucking episode.
Holy fuck.
That's amazing. Congratulations to you guys for making it to 451. Hopefully you make it to 902. You double it. I always like to say, if you can double it, that's the best. So yeah, hopefully you guys are sticking around and make it to 1,000 episodes, 10,000 episodes. That'd be great. Hopefully we can be at 451 ourselves one day.
Yeah.
But thank you again, Matt, and all the crew at Horror Show Hot Dog. That was amazing. Those were the kindest words, and we thank you very much. So go check them out as they have checked us out.
Yes.
And now it is time to get into some of our favorite Stranger Danger movies in horror. And basically we've got two movies where it really is don't trust a stranger, don't follow a stranger, don't talk to a stranger, don't ask them for favors, don't take a job from them. But the first one we're going to start off with here is actually don't get fucking kidnapped.
I mean, this one's a little tricky.
It is a little tricky, but we've been really wanting to talk about this movie because it's one of our absolute favorites.
And this might be misleading in the don't get kidnapped, because I'm sure many of you right now are thinking they're going to talk about The Black Phone, because obviously one of our larger, more recent movies where it is legitimately Stranger Danger, but we're actually not talking about The Black Phone, although it did kind of help get the ball rolling in our thought process with this.
It did, and we talked about Black Phone during, some of our recent episodes, like the thriller episode. We talked all about thrillers. So we've talked about Black Phone. Another movie that kind of got the ball rolling here was The Strangers, but we've talked a lot about The Strangers. We don't want to bore you with more anecdotes about The Strangers. Maybe we can do a franchise breakdown of The Strangers with these 3 new movies that are getting ready to come out that were filmed within the span of 5 weeks.
All right.
5 fucking weeks. I want to remind people of that every chance I get.
Yes.
3 Strangers movies were filmed in 5 weeks and they're about to be released.
Yes.
So that's exciting, but also fucking terrifying. So
I mean, if anything, we can just pretend it doesn't exist, kind of like we did with the second movie.
Yeah, the second movie is something in and of itself.
Watch it for the pool scene, and that's it.
The pool scene, and that's really it. I agree.
But this one it's kind of interesting. We love this movie, and At this point, I feel like Pluto TV needs to sponsor us with as much as we talk about them and all their cool free shit.
Right. Everybody talks about Tubi, and I love Tubi,
We do.
but we're Pluto people.
Yeah,
we
we're
love
Pluto.
that fucking live stream of just random fucking movies.
Yeah, if you give me a channel that's themed out of anything, it immediately makes me feel like how old cable TV was.
Exactly.
And I'm here for it.
I
So
100% agree with that. Yeah, it's a straight up throwback when I see something that's a themed channel.
right. And usually if it's streaming or if they're playing it live on there, it's probably able to stream it on there. So if you haven't seen it, you could probably watch it on Pluto. But we love this movie. We've been wanting to talk about it, and it's 10 Cloverfield Lane, the sequel that came out to Cloverfield. Very, very different than our original Cloverfield. It's no found footage. It's very... People were mad they don't see Godzilla on screen much. Probably really don't care about the creatures in Cloverfield.
Right.
10 Cloverfield Lane,
Right.
because it's like a minute.
Yeah.
But John Goodman, absolutely fucking terrifying in this movie.
Yeah. This is one of my absolute favorite John Goodman performances, and he's
Yes.
just one of the best actors of all time.
Yeah, and honestly, the name Howard, his name's Howard in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
sounds like such just like happy little comforting farmer guy name, but he's off from the beginning.
Well, and I think that was kind of the point of giving him this simple name
Mm-hmm.
and kind of giving him this humble little outlook on life kind of as he starts off. He's just like you said, kind of a humble little farmer
Right.
named Howard, and that's really all we know about him. In the fact that, Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character Michelle wakes up in a fucking bunker and doesn't know where the fuck she is after this car accident that she had. Yeah, they do a really good job of setting up there's something very critically crazy that fucking happens with this car accident. But then when she awakens, it's still crazy, but you're greeted with this nice happy little John Goodman.
I mean,
Like, how can you be like,
yes and no. Like, she still has like the brace thing on her knees, like chained to the wall, I think, at
Yeah.
that point. But it's like he's just like, oh, I didn't want you to move or like get
Yeah.
hurt or whatever. And like everything he says, it just seems like weirdly misguided. Like you can tell, like, there's probably like something has happened, obviously.
Right, of course.
And they make it pretty clear in the beginning that he's ex-military, probably has a lot of PTSD with obviously something fucking attacking and all this shit going on.
Well, the fact that he built the fucking bunker, like he
Right.
says in the movie, he's like, a lot of people will wait until after the disaster happens to do something about it.
Oh my God.
I'm paraphrasing.
I
of
actually
course.
love that line because what he says is, but what do they actually do when those alarms go off? And it's
Right.
like when we're kids, like we were like hot and ready to fucking stop, drop, and roll. Like we knew that shit.
Yeah.
But like that's it. Like they talk to you about house fires.
Hey, we knew how to sit against a wall and bring our knees to our chest so that if a tornado came
Yes.
through, we were safe.
Yes.
Because that's all you need.
That's what we did.
It's all you need. Just pull your knees to your chest and, don't look up.
But even then, that's like, that was in school. Like, half the shit, like, anytime that there was a crazy thing like that happening at home, like, everyone knew, like, at least here in Indiana, Midwest area,
Right.
is like, go to the innermost basement fucking closet that you can find. But it's like, as far as, like, disasters happening, most of us... although 2023 is making a lot of us be a little bit more prepared since it seems like the world's fucking ending right now.
Right. We're
but-
recording this in February of 2023, and
that's all we really have to say about that.
well,
if
and
you've
yeah,
been
right
paying
now, if
attention
you're,
to
if
the
you're
news.
listening to this a long time fucking ahead of us, you'll fucking understand we got like fucking trains
Yeah.
spilling with fucking toxic waste everywhere.
Right.
UFOs are
Yeah.
out there.
If someone's like discovering this episode and it's like 10 years later, I'm pretty sure you can Google like or whatever fucking search engine is going to be there. It's probably like in your eyeball. at
Alta
that point.
Vista's gonna make a comeback. Fucking
Oh,
mark my words.
Alta
Alta
Vista?
Vista's gonna make a comeback.
But it's like February 2023, and it's like
You'll know
aliens,
exactly what's
chemical
going on.
spills, train derailments, earthquakes, and of course everything political. But yeah, it's kind of one of those movies that does make you go, huh, maybe I should like think about some of this stuff. But then of course it spirals into thinking that this guy is just absolutely fucking loony.
Right, and a part of the fun of the movie is you don't know whether you should believe John Goodman, Howard. You don't know if you should believe Howard.
Right.
Because it immediately, like I said, the way it goes down is Michelle's in this car accident. She wakes up. She's chained up because, like you said, he makes the excuse like, oh, I didn't want you moving around and making it worse. You know what I mean? I didn't want you hurting yourself anymore, stuff like that. but you never quite fully know if he's telling the truth that there was this apocalyptic fucking cataclysmic event,
Right.
or is he kidnapping people and just telling them that so that they don't question him?
Right.
Right. You get that whole vibe the entire time, and I fucking love that dynamic because in addition to John Goodman, his character of Howard, and Michelle, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, you also get a great performance, one of my fucking favorite supporting characters in any movie. You get John Gallagher Jr. playing Emmett DeWitt.
What a name.
Right, what a name. First off, I actually have DeWitts in my family, so fucking crazy. We might be connected in a weird way.
And John Gallagher Jr., by the way, is my favorite home invasion hunk in the movie Hush.
Bingo, yeah, I was getting ready to say, he's got a great history there with horror movies.
He's the good guy in this movie.
He is a good guy.
He's also got his arms fucked up, I think. I don't remember what it was that happened to him.
Or something,
but yeah, so you've got these two wounded people and this guy, and obviously if you're in that situation where someone's like, oh, you can't go out there, the air is toxic, and there's a scene where he shows what happened to the pigs or whatever outside.
Right. Yeah, he shows Michelle what happened to these pigs.
Yes.
Yeah, who were exposed to everything.
To the air, because he keeps saying you can't breathe the air, it's going to kill you and whatever. And I love that point because she sees it and it starts to it's like she comes back a little bit. Maybe there is really something fucked up out there.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just hearing things, because she's like, I heard a car, and he's like, that's impossible.
Yeah, he keeps saying that's impossible.
Right.
There's
but
no way.
Instead of just being clear and saying, well, there's something out there that's killing people to the air exposure. He's always a little too vague with it.
Right.
Yes, there could be a car, but that person is most likely fucked up from whatever's out there. Mm-hmm, so it's if he were to just say that, but even then, if someone told you that and it wasn't 2023, would you be like, sure? Or would you be like, you're fucking insane? And most of us are going to say, the air was fine 12 hours ago when I was in my car trying to call my boyfriend who's, they're having trouble, obviously. There has to be some drama in the movie. It's she doesn't question a lot straightforward, but he's also really, scary in the way that if you try to, he gets loud and he, gaslights the fuck out of you. Mm-hmm. And he's just really unnerving through that whole opening.
He bounces back and forth between unnerving but also disarming. It's he teeters it so well because there are moments, like you said, where he comes off very unhinged and very fucking, PTSD.
Yeah.
If you told me he studied actual vets who suffered from PTSD, I'd be like, damn, fucking seems like he nailed it.
It's the performance that he gives.
Yeah, he's known for that. John Goodman is known for bringing this level of realism to all of his roles, and this is no different. But again, he's also John Goodman. To me, he's America's fucking dad.
Yeah.
I love John Goodman. I grew up with John Goodman. And watching him, you're like, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way.
It's a good cast call. It's like what we've talked about with making a good guy. I hate that. And I'm a good guy. Making a kind guy the villain in a movie always kind of throws you off. It's like the Bo Burnham and honestly the whole cast of Promising Young Woman. You're like, oh, these guys are just fucking terrific people.
It's a great example, yes.
They're
Promising
horrible.
Young Woman, because you and I have talked about that several times. How Emerald Fennell, the director of Promising Young Woman, made it her mission to go after actors who were known for playing good characters and kind guys and things like that, and who have reputations for being genuinely good people. Christopher Mintz-Plasse is one of my favorite examples. She gets him to play this slime bag in Promising Young Woman.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, he's people have nothing but good things to say about him. So John Goodman playing Howard in this movie is quite the same.
Yeah.
Because there is a moment where he takes it too far, but up until that point, he's one of those great examples of a character where you hope for his redemption.
Yeah.
You hope that you're wrong. You hope that the misdirection is that Howard's not bad at all. Maybe he actually is a good guy, even though you get the hints and the clues that he's a bad dude.
Right. Yeah, and I love the turning point of this movie when it's finally they're still so unnerved, but they have something that really shows that he's not a good guy. And that is suspicion that there is a girl that he had kidnapped in the past and had probably killed down in this bunker.
Well, and he keeps talking about a girl named Megan the whole movie. He's talking about a girl named Megan. And finally, Michelle asks him, was that your daughter? And he's like, I don't think he directly answers it. Mm-hmm. But you get the implication that that was his daughter. But again, like you're saying, they quickly grow suspicious that it wasn't his daughter.
Right.
And John Gallagher's character of Emmett does suggest that that there was a girl who went missing not too long ago. When they find a picture of John Goodman's daughter Megan.
Well, and I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're just remembering this wrong, but there's that part where they're talking and she shows him the picture.
That's what I was getting ready to say. The picture.
And she says he looked at me and said that this was his daughter.
Yeah.
So like,
okay, yeah, I don't remember him actually confirming that he said it was his daughter. So yes, I'm glad you confirmed that.
Because that's part of the scene.
Because I forgot that. Yes.
Because basically they send her, because she's the smallest one, to go through this vent to fix something that helps with the circulation for the bunker. And it's kind of like, well, if it can't get fixed, we're fucked. Which is kind of like a real fuck up, honestly, when you think about it.
Yeah, way to build the Death Star there with that fucking one weakness there, John Goodman. Jesus Christ.
It's through the one little air vent that he can't get through, and you have to have this tiny little
no shit.
person
it's fucking
go through.
Jin Urso, was he your fucking architect there for this fucking mission there?
I don't know. Maybe you don't think about that when you're building a bunker, but it's kind of like, in hindsight,
yeah,
don't do that. But
I picture him like building it, and he's like, how the fuck do I get out of here now?
Right.
Like, that's
exactly.
the last part he built.
Yeah, you just build it in. But she goes up there and basically finds a pair of earrings and a little bit of blood, and it says
like
help on the window.
Too, right?
Yeah, like fingernail. Yeah. And so the earrings that she finds up there are the earrings on the picture of the girl that he's said is the daughter. And Emmett basically goes, no, that's a girl like my brother went to high school with.
Yep.
She went missing 2 years ago.
Yep.
And then there's a picture of her and Howard, and the girl is wearing the shirt that Michelle is now wearing after she's showered. And so they know now, like, he's kidnapped somebody and killed her.
They cement it that their suspicions are true. And then they go so far as to try to build a fucking suit to get out, and so that way when they're exposed to these, quote, chemicals in this air, that they will be okay.
Yeah.
But of course, John Goodman, Howard, being the fucking crazy bastard that he is, finds out what is up. He finds their like tools that they've snuck scissors
it's like,
and shit away,
because he's so particular about everything that he notices.
He's very anal retentive
when
for
like
sure.
The pair of scissors aren't in a drawer anymore. So like he figures shit out. And this is that point in the movie, and I would honestly take this scene and I would rank it really fucking high on my uncomfortable level. A lot of people would say, like, you know, things like the pole scene in Hereditary is really uncomfortable. I would put this really fucking high up close to that, because the scene is so close, the way it's shot. You already know what they know, and you're figuring out that Howard is figuring out that they know these things. And he makes them move this barrel and takes it in the bathroom and takes the lid off, and it's an acid. And you're like, oh, fucking fuck. And he talks about how, it'll melt everything right down to the bone, even though he's holding a pair of scissors and a razor.
He even shows them by throwing the fucking scissors in there, and it literally disintegrates the fucking scissors.
Right.
It's fucking, like, you're already, like, on edge just for the fact that there's this acid. Like, Natalie and I were talking about it the last time we watched it. We're like, what's to stop it from just splashing on your fucking clothes and your skin and stuff and like burning you up? Like, we're like, if we were in this position, we would be scared shitless. We realize.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it so intense, and why you say you would rank it so highly.
Right, because it's not just
truly terrifying.
We're not talking like a paint bucket. We're talking like, you know, when you watch old cartoons,
we're talking about a fucking oil drum.
Yeah, the old big fucking toxic waste barrels. Like, that's what it is. And like, we were watching it, and I was just like, even taking the lid off, I'd be anxious. First off, I'm too clumsy, and like having this giant like fucking 100-gallon barrel of acid just hanging out in your bathroom is fucking scary. But you think that he's going to use the acid, but it's a really good misdirection. And spoiler alert here, but Emmett takes the blame for everything, and he's like, you know, kind of gives this bullshit excuse.
He tries to own up to it.
Yeah.
He's like, look, it was me. He's like, I thought, he's like, I wanted to, and it's great because he says, because you can tell Howard has this whole fucking thing about power and control because he's a control freak.
Yes.
And Emmett says, like, look, man, I just wanted her to respect me the way she respects you. I wanted power, and I thought if I could make a weapon, it would make me powerful. And it's this great fucking thing where you're like, holy shit, it's brilliant. Anybody watching this would be like, he's got to buy this, right?
Right.
He's got to eat this shit up.
Exactly. You think because, and like, Emmett doesn't mean it. Like, him and Michelle obviously, like, have this kind of care for each other.
Yes.
And he just doesn't want her to get hurt. And it's like, the first time I watched this, I was like, he's going to put his fucking hand in the barrel. He's going to put his hand in the barrel.
Something,
like,
right? Yeah, you're thinking he's
going
to do something with the acid.
But instead, Howard pulls out his gun and just shoots him.
Just fucking shoots him
like,
at point blank.
It's off screen. But you see him point the gun, and you hear him pull the trigger, and you get that like silence, like fucking.
Well, it's
noise.
and it's almost like they want you to feel like it's Michelle's POV, like her eardrum bursts from the sound of the gun.
Yeah,
it's like that sound effect that they always do in movies where when they fire a gun and somebody's like got that like busted eardrum kind of ringing tinnitus sound in their ear. So it's like they do that, and it's really great because it allows you as an audience member, as a viewer, to really soak in what just fucking happened.
Right.
And to me, it's the most pivotal moment in the whole fucking movie.
It is.
Because he just straight up shoots it.
Fucking terrifying.
Right. He just shoots a gun. Fucking Emmett's dead. Michelle now knows Howard's a monster. Mm-hmm. I am alone. Emmett's dead. The only person I had who could help me is fucking done. I have to do this on my own.
Yeah.
And she goes into this fucking isolation, fucking just mode of I am going to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And it's terrific.
It is.
And when she escapes, when she does finally escape, she's got her fucking suit and she escapes and she uses the acid to burn Howard, and in the process it starts a fire in the bunker, so she escapes and she's out. She escaped the fire, she escaped Howard, she's got fucking out. But what happens? Howard was right. There was something fucking apocalyptic that happened, but it wasn't chemicals. It was fucking these Cloverfield monsters that have now become these flying fucking...
So you get to see the cool, like, I don't even know the right word for it, but they're like living ships because they're flying around. Like, you see one in the distance, and she's just trying to, like, get a vehicle to start to, like, fucking get somewhere. And she's got this fucking little shower curtain hazmat suit on. It's got a little duck on the side of it. It's kind of amazing. Fucking gas mask made out of a 2-liter.
Yeah, made out of like a 2-liter of Pepsi or some shit. It was great.
Duct tape for patchwork if there's a tear. Like, it's pretty awesome, honestly.
It is so well done.
And this is the point where you get the very minimal creatures, because you get the little small fuckers that run around that you see. But also the giant monster ship thing, like, picks up the car, so you gotta, like, see its mouth before she throws a Molotov in it. But the thing that's interesting is the air is fine. It's just the ships are basically crop dusting cities with their fucking shitty, weird green fog that's obviously mutating and killing people.
Right.
You see what happens to the pigs. There's a woman at some point that you actually see she's trying to get into the bunker, and her skin's all bloody and open sores and freaky, and it's like toxic fumes. That's it.
And being put into the air by these fucking aliens that have now invaded. And the film ends in this great moment where she's driving off and she finds a radio signal of people asking for help. And she just survived something pretty fucking intense. So she's definitely somebody I'd want on my side. And it looked like she was headed right into the fucking thick of it.
Yeah.
I fucking love it. It's one of my favorites. And we got to give some love here to the director. Dan Trachtenberg directed this, and he's also directed Prey, which just came out last year. And I remember watching this, and I said, God, Dan Trachtenberg did this and did Prey. He's got to have like just this long list of all these great fucking movies he's done, right? Look him up. He's only done 10 Cloverfield Lane and Prey. So, yeah, he's already off to a fucking great start.
2 for 2 there.
Yeah, 2 fucking amazing movies, but 10 Cloverfield Lane is really special. I remember when it came out, like, we'd heard buzz of a sequel about Cloverfield, and we were thinking it's going to be the monsters and found footage and all that shit again. But to find out that basically this is a side story that takes place during the Cloverfield alien invasion attack that we see in New York in 2008, this is truly great that they were able to take this story and connect it and make it something that where these two stories can coexist, and they're equally as terrifying for different reasons, but they leave a mark and they leave an impact on you in very different ways.
Yeah.
I fucking love the way these two movies play off of each other.
Me too. I like the kind of polar opposite. It's 10 Cloverfield Lane is a little, I wouldn't say necessarily a slow burn. I feel like it's not that lowly, but it does play slower, and obviously you don't have like the crazy motion of found footage.
Right,
But
this is very much a low budget kind of indie kind of horror movie for the most part.
It is.
And then as soon as she gets out, it becomes big blockbuster fucking
Right.
sci-fi action
Giant
movie.
alien ships with tentacles and scary teeth.
Yeah, and then of course you got a third movie, Cloverfield Paradox, which was a Netflix movie. We watched it. It was okay. It wasn't like I wasn't like absolutely astounded by it.
Right.
But it was a decent little sci-fi kind of ride of a movie.
I think it just left me with a few more questions than I had.
Right,
when I
it didn't
started.
answer as many questions as it ended up just posing more.
But it is really cool, and
is.
it takes place for like 90% of the time probably in space. So,
yes, yeah, it's like very much like a Ridley Scott kind of aliens kind of sci-fi movie with a little bit of horror elements mixed in. It's also very different from both Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane. I love that all these movies again coexist, take place, have this common theme to them, but at the same time, they're just three very distinctly different movies.
Right.
And last thing I will say, me personally at least, is I know they just announced we're supposed to finally get a true sequel to the original Cloverfield from 2008. I'll believe it when I fucking see it.
no shit.
But I'm, who knows? Maybe we'll be able to talk about another Cloverfield movie here soon.
I would love that because the clover is one of my favorite creature designs.
Yes.
I recently, obviously, they've been playing them on Pluto, both of them. And I think we've caught little bits and pieces of the first movie like twice in the last week or so. And I always love that fucking part towards the end when they're up in the helicopter and you get to see her. I'm not sure. Honestly, I've always called it a her because it just has mama vibes, and I can't explain that.
I've always referred to it as a her.
So if it's not supposed to be, please correct me. But I don't know why she's always mama to me. So her. But when you see her through the city and just how like fucking huge in amongst the buildings of New York she is, and of course the iconic scene where the guy turns around and it's right there, looking down.
Yeah.
And you don't really, you don't get that in 10 Cloverfield Lane, but I feel like the payoff in that movie is worth what you go through without the creatures because it gives you such a good fucking story.
In 10 Cloverfield Lane, you're talking. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. 10 Cloverfield Lane is just a great fucking story. You take off that ending and she just escapes. Right. I still think it's a great fucking movie. Yeah. Like, from start to finish,
alien apocalypse or not. Like, she could get out and there'd be nothing fucking wrong. And I'd be like, cool.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I think that is a terrific way of stating it. Like, even taking out the Cloverfield sci-fi elements of it, it's still one of the best fucking horror movies I've ever seen. I like, again, I can't give anybody enough credit. Like, everybody in this fucking movie, down to Bradley Cooper doing a voice cameo as her shitty fucking boyfriend trying to get her back in the beginning.
Yeah.
Just every fucking thing works about this movie. It's so good.
It does.
One other movie that we've been dying to fucking talk about, and we're so happy we get to talk about it, is actually a little on the funnier side. Still very dark, still very twisted, but a little bit more on the comedic side. We're talking Ma.
I love Ma.
Who fucking doesn't love Ma?
A lot of people, I've seen a lot of in the middle for this movie.
Oh, man.
I don't know. I thought it felt like something I hadn't seen before.
Exactly. I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
And if you can show me something I don't feel like I've seen before, I'm all for it.
It's immediate bonus points for me. Obviously, it's Octavia Spencer as Sue Ann, our main antagonist. But you also get Luke Evans in this movie, and I absolutely fucking adore him.
I didn't write down all the cast in our notes, but I'm glad you mentioned that. Luke Evans is in it. Allison Janney actually has a great role in it. Missy Pyle, another one of my favorite comedians, is in it. It's a fucking phenomenal cast.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's it mainly, obviously, if you've been living under a rock, you've probably seen a trailer for this at some point, but it's mostly following teens through the movie.
Some local high schoolers in this little town
who keep getting busted by the cops for their like main hangout place, which looks cool. Love the vibes. Don't blame them. But basically, there's this nice woman that lives in the town. She works at the local vet, and she's just like, "Oh, you guys can like use my house. Like, I have this whole part in the basement that you can just fucking hang out in and underage drink, and I'm not going to say anything. Well, and if that's not a red flag, I don't know what is."
And the stranger danger element comes in here as because they are trying to buy booze illegally, and they happen to see sweet little old Sue Ann. I almost called her Sue Ellen. You have Sue Ann out there, and what do? They say, "Hey, lady, go buy us some beer." She does, reluctantly at first. So, like, she even tries to fucking tell him. She's like, "No, this is not a good idea. This is not a good idea." What do? They keep pushing her. She goes, she buys them booze, and she's like, "Well, if you're going to drink, come drink at my house." Like Natalie said, she's like, "Come drink at my house, be safe."
She says, like, "I would rather you guys be somewhere where, someone knows where you are and it's safe. You're not out in the middle of nowhere than to just go be drunk out in public and have to worry about driving somewhere. Like, because I can help you and I can watch out for you."
Yep.
And you're just like, okay, this is like cool fucking adult who's just gonna let us do this shit as long as we do it safe. And like, that makes sense to me because
everything makes sense when you start watching the movie. You're like, all right, yeah, absolutely, okay. But you do quickly find out about Sue Ann that she has that you get flashbacks to when she was younger, and you get the vibe that some shit happened to her when she was younger that just wasn't good.
And honestly, like, this is one of those villains even though it's really unhinged, I'm really here for. Because she was bullied so fucking badly.
There's no way you can agree with any of the bullying that happened in this.
Like,
this
to
isn't
the point
just like,
there's
kids will be kids.
SA.
Right.
And basically she has a crush on the popular guy who as an adult is played by Luke Evans. I don't remember the character's name.
Yeah.
But she has a crush on a guy, has a horrible prank played on her, and she's just been fucked up over it ever since.
It's a very traumatizing prank and stunt that these kids pull on her. And but being that it's a small town, everybody basically grew up and stayed in the small town.
Right.
So her abusers are people that she has to interact with every fucking day.
And guess what? They're the parents of these kids that she said, "You guys can come over to my house."
Right. So as you start to learn the connection between Sue Ann, who the kids end up referring to as Ma, which is where the title of the film comes into play. So as you learn more about Ma, and you see her relationship with the kids developing, and it seems like, she's getting close. Well, it turns into she's getting too close. And the kids, one of the main girl, who is Juliette Lewis's character, is in the movie. Juliette Lewis, great actress, but her character in the movie is she's the mom of the main character, the daughter. So this main girl goes in and she starts learning more about Ma. We even find out that Ma has a daughter that's about their fucking age, who is very sick, very ill, and she just kind of keeps hidden away. And it's really fucked up. So you realize that, like, this is kind of generational trauma. Like, she's passing this shit down to the next generation. It's really fucked up when you learn more about it. And like Natalie said, like, these kids who are partying at her house are the kids of her bullies, and you're like, that can't go on for too long, and it doesn't, and it quickly turns fucking sour, and the kids become a very weird plot and a revenge story for Sue Ann.
But the thing that's creepy along the way as this builds is she has all of their numbers, basically. I know that there's the first time one of them's like, "How did she get my number?" And they're like, "Oh, she must have just like put it all in her phone or whatever, so she can help us or whatever."
That's what I'm saying.
And it's
she
all
becomes
super
too
innocent.
close, very too quick.
But there's a really good part in the movie where all the kids are like kind of getting weirded out because she keeps sending them basically like kind of the equivalent like Snapchats and things to like all of these young kids. So it's like, "Hey guys, coming over to Ma's tonight," and she's got like a fucking case of beer, and you're like, this is fucking weird. Like, she's like, "How lonely are you? Like, why do you want all these kids to come over and hang out?" Like, it's fucking weird. Like, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop and just think she was a total freak. But you get those whole flashbacks, and you start to put those pieces together.
Yeah.
And
it's a well told story because it's like you're not given all the information up front. It's kind of slowly fed to you. And I love the way it's done. It's like you're never given too much at one point, And
Right.
you never go too long without learning something. Like, everything is paced so fucking well.
Yeah, because you don't even get the full extent of what happened to her when she was young until towards the end of the movie.
Right.
The guy that Luke Evans plays, his name is Ben Hawkins, which just sounds like the typical jock of a small town.
Yes, exactly.
I love his part. He's like in a security type.
Yeah, he
job.
runs a security company,
Right.
basically.
And the son drives his van, and he has trackers on the van, so it's easy to find his son. And that's basically how he figures out these kids are going over to her house, and there's this lovely exchange of him kind of threatening her, like, well, they shouldn't be hanging around with a grown person who's supplying them with alcohol.
It's so fucking good because the way it's set up too. I love this scene. I love that you brought this up because it's one of my fucking favorite scenes in the movie. But it's so well done the way Luke Evans, because he like takes one of his animals to the vet, and he kind of chats her up, and he like asks her out like it's gonna be a date, and you're like, oh look, everything's turning around for her. Finally, she gets what she wanted, and she's gonna be great. She's gonna be happy, and she even dresses up, and she's so looking forward to it. And she fucking sits down, and I love it because he's like basically looks like, I run a security business, right? She's like, yeah. He's like, I have a son, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, so tell me why my security company found my son fucking going to your house, and you're just like, oh shit, it's this perfect oh shit moment in the movie. You're like, fuck.
It's fucked.
It is
because they're like in the middle of this nice restaurant
of the tides, man. It's so fucking well done. It's probably the best scene in the whole fucking movie. But that's where shit goes off the rails.
Yeah, because she realizes, like, shit, I'm gonna have to do something more. But one of the scenes, whenever I really started to realize how fucking ridiculous and unhinged this movie is she's driving, and I think she's got a larger vehicle.
Yeah, she's got a truck.
Yeah, and there's a girl jogging down the road, which is like kind of a bimbo-y chick who's like,
but also one of her old bullies.
Yeah, one of the old bullies. And she's got her, she goes out and she jogs every day. She's like super tan, like she's like the plastic girl, I guess you could say, of this town. And she just fucking runs her over.
Just literally just turns her car just an inch to the left and boom, takes her the fuck out.
Takes her out, keeps going.
It's one of those things like you always hear people joke about. It's like, do I just go like this? It's like
she let the intrusive thoughts win.
Let the intrusive thoughts win, and it's so fucking well done.
Hey, there's one of my bullies. 50 points. And that's it.
And
you're like,
what's
holy fucking
what's
shit.
Fucked up is it's not even the worst thing that she does to anybody.
No, it's not.
Like, I can't even go into like what she does. Like, go watch the movie. Like, she goes full fucking unhinged.
Yes.
And I really do. I fucking love this movie. It's so funny because Octavia Spencer, obviously known for comedy more than she's known for serious roles, but fucking A, man, she does a great job at both in this movie. She can bring the serious, but she also makes you just fucking laugh. Like, you're in stitches half the fucking movie.
She does.
Yeah.
But the kids basically start to kind of realize there's something more, whether it's the messages she's sending or she blocks them, even though they block her or whatever,
right.
she's still like getting in touch with them and, hey, you guys gotta come hang out, and like seeing them at school and shit, and it's just really fucking weird.
Yep.
She like, there's a freak out moment when one of the kids tries to go into the main house, like for the bathroom or whatever. And then you find out that basically there's someone that they're like, I think she's got someone held captive in her house.
Yeah, it's just her fucking daughter.
And it's just her daughter that she's sheltering because she doesn't want her to get hurt the way she did, which is so fucked up.
Yeah, I don't think they go so far as like say it outright, but you do get kind of Munchausen vibes from her a little bit. It's pretty fucked up.
Because I think there is talk of like, you can't do this, can't do that. You have to have the medicine, this kind of shit.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like I said, I don't know that they ever completely confirm it, but you definitely get those vibes.
Yeah. But she goes really crazy with the kids, like to the point kids die. If you saw the trailer, which was one of the trailers, I was like, God damn it, they showed too much. There's a scene where she's sitting there with a couple kids, and there's one that she like stitches the girl's mouth closed or the guy's mouth closed. I don't remember which kid she does it to. And just absolutely like fucking mutilates some of the other kids.
Yep. The one that fucks me up is when she talks to the basically the token black kid of the group.
Oh yeah.
And she literally paints him white and talks about how people will never accept us the way we want them to. And it's just this fucking brutal fucking statement on race just thrown in the middle of the movie that you're like,
it is.
Damn, I didn't expect that. But it's so fucking like I'm glad they put it in there. I'm glad we got that fucking statement. It felt like the movie needed this fucking it was there hanging in the air, and they just took advantage of it.
Yeah, because obviously people will treat black people like that.
Right.
How many times do we talk about the people who are like, I'm not racist, I'm married to a black man? It's like that. Nope, that's not how that works.
How that works, right.
And you kind of get the idea, obviously, with her age, there was a lot of racism still when she was young. I mean, obviously, I can't say still, but towards her when she was young. And yeah, that scene's really fucked up because it's not just like this little, like it's a gallon of white paint that you would use for a wall with like a big thick brush. And like she's just painting him and tying them up on the couch.
It's fucking, it's rough to watch for a lot of reasons. It's on the surface, you're just watching a woman put paint on a kid's face. It's not really a big deal.
But it's what she says.
Think about it and what she says. Again, a fucking Oscar winner, Octavia Spencer, delivering these lines. It's fucking intense, man.
Yeah.
One thing I want to throw out there before we move on to our next movies is it was directed by a guy named Tate Taylor. And I remember I saw that name before. I'm like, where do I know that name before? He directed the movie The Help, which is where Octavia Spencer won the Oscar. It's fucking crazy to me that they work together on this fucking Oscar-winning film, and then they decide we're gonna fucking do a horror movie.
Just like, hey, do you want to be a crazy lady giving beer to kids?
Right, we're gonna do this weird horror comedy about fucking mom.
You get to fucking kill everybody, including all your bullies.
I fucking love it. And I'm wondering, I remember after the movie was done, I'm like, that movie was surprisingly really good for a horror comedy.
Oh, I loved it.
And you're like, oh well, it's directed by a fucking guy who directed an Oscar-winning picture, and you had an Oscar winner in the lead role, so yeah, I think it makes sense why it was just a really fucking good movie.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad that, the ratings weren't as good as what I was hoping for when this came out. I think that there was some misleading. Again, don't watch trailers and shit. It disappoints you.
Yeah.
And we didn't watch this for a while, I think, after it came out, honestly.
It was about a year after it came out. We finally watched it. Yeah,
but it does. It's got a ton of great fucking comedy. It's shocks you, like what I was talking about. Whenever that part where she just fucking drives over the girl, I was like, oh, she's giving her stink eye. She's gonna say something. No, she doesn't say something. She kills her.
Fucking straight up kills her.
But her killing all of her bullies and just it's interesting when you dive deeper into it. I talk about how I feel so bad for her. And because she was ruined, she was bullied to the point where it permanently it permanently altered her for the rest of her life, to the point where she was given an opportunity, and if you had worked on healing and moving past these things, but obviously she held on to it with so much hate for all of her life, to the point that even at the end of the movie, when all hell's breaking loose, the house is like fucking on fire, and she's like begging to, be helped out of the house, her own daughter doesn't fucking help her.
No.
And you get this kind
of
weird...
Which is a great moment for the daughter, too. You're like... You're happy to see her break the chain.
Yeah, you see that she's so traumatized from the way her mom's treated her that she's just like, no, she knows she has a better life getting away.
Right.
And it's sad, but there's a lot of layers to peel away on there. It's not your typical fucking crazy serial killer. It's like... And I don't want to say, the people that are like, oh, they were mentally unwell. It's like, but no, there are literal cases of people who are mentally unwell, who obviously she was leading a fairly normal life working at a vet's office until this opportunity came about when these kids approached her.
Well, we literally have the term in at least in the American legal system, guilty by reason of mental insanity or mental instability.
Yeah.
And it's because of that. It's because you can be guilty, but there can also be underlying causes to it.
Yeah.
Whereas if a character like this, it's like we talk about, we always think about the shit after the movie, the implications, like the legal shit that you'd have to deal with. So you're like, if she made it out of that situation and she were to face like legal consequences, sure, she'd be found guilty. But I think any good lawyer would be like mental defect
Yeah.
or instability, fucking right there. Like,
Right.
hands down, she was fucking traumatized by these people when she was a kid, grew up, fucking saw them every day, and, you know, finally one day flew off the handle. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
it's something that anybody could see coming a mile away.
Right.
But these things happen in a fucking flawed system like what we have with mental health.
I agree.
It's a great statement about the lack of mental health awareness.
I'm with you, because that's one of those things, and I know that this is kind of heavy for a little horror podcast, but I just feel like, you know, we don't want to just say, oh, if you're bullied, you're going to be a killer. Like, I was bullied horribly. Did I dream every morning of going in and punching the fuck out of him? Yeah. One day it happened to him by somebody else, and then I felt better.
Right.
But it's like, the difference is there's people who hate bullies and would love revenge on a bully, and there's people that go far enough to kill them and their children. So it's like, yes, Ma is not this perfect person who was just ruined by bullying. She's obviously very fucked up to the point that she doesn't mind doing this.
Yeah.
But I love talking about that, because it is interesting to see a killer that comes out of bullying. I know that happens in other movies. It's just the way this one is, on top of having a daughter who's gladly ready to escape her own mother.
Yeah.
It's a heavy movie.
It's a very heavy movie. Again, definitely recommend watching and seeing some of the shit that Octavia Spencer does to people, and just some of the fucking funny shit in the movie too. It's a fun ass movie.
Now, to lighten it up here, I'm gonna
to lighten it up, yeah.
I'm gonna present you with a Craigslist ad of a man who wants to document his life for his family after a cancer diagnosis.
It sounds like a fucking heartwarming tale that we all would have watched in like the 80s or 90s.
Well, there's a nickname for Peach Fuzz. It's a really good Hallmark movie. You may have heard of it. It's called Creep.
Sounds
Also,
like the
Creep
perfect
2.
Hallmark movie.
Not really lightening it up much here, but Creep, one of our favorite fucking movies ever.
This is a great stranger danger movie, man.
Yes.
This is fucking, don't answer Craigslist ads that seem too good to be true or too fucking creepy, man.
Yeah, I'm always amazed by people who answer any kind of ad from a stranger, especially this day and age. I remember people putting ads. Like, we would put ads in the paper for a fucking yard sale. Like, whenever I was a little kid, my mom would sit there and write out her little 2 lines and put it in there. But the idea of a garage sale is one thing, but an ad for, you know, the little personal jobs like this, where I could say, well, I can point and shoot. I'm going to answer this ad, and I end up in the middle of the fucking mountains at this weird house, and it's just me. And it goes south very fast.
This movie is one of the most incredible fucking rides you will ever go on. It's so well done. It's one of the most well done found footage movies that we have ever seen. Like, it's just from start to finish. And I literally mean that, because you open up and our main character of Aaron, played by the director, Patrick Bryce, which makes sense because it's found footage. You know, he would be the director.
Right.
So Patrick Bryce plays Aaron, who answers this Craigslist ad to document this guy's final moments for his son, because he got diagnosed with cancer and he's probably not going to live to meet his newborn son. So, but when you see Aaron driving, he's driving and driving and driving, and they do a great job of establishing he is in the middle of fucking nowhere. He is in BFE, bumfuck Egypt. No cell service, no Wi-Fi. Like, he's literally, like, it's like the first 10 minutes of the movie are him driving up the damn mountains.
Yes, it's speak no evil level of wilderness.
Oh, it's up there for sure. But then he meets, this character who, what does he introduce him as first? Joseph.
Yeah.
He's Joseph first, and I say that because this guy has fucking multiple identities, and even after 2 movies, we still don't know his real fucking name.
Right.
But Joseph, and immediately, you are just, the minute you meet Joseph, the minute you meet him and see Mark Duplass, you're like, fucking red flags everywhere.
Yeah, he is. He's like the guy that tries to joke but doesn't do it well, and it just comes off creepy and unnerving.
100% agree with that assessment. He's the guy who would try to be funny, but like, the minute he leaves, you're looking at your friend or your coworker, and you're like, that fucking guy's nuts. Like, you get the immediate impression that this guy is off his fucking rocker.
Yeah.
And it's more so like he's weird or quirky, you know, sure. Yeah, you don't think maybe serial killer right away, but you definitely feel weird and uncomfortable by him.
It gets there quick, though.
It does get there quick.
Tubby time.
Well, yeah, because one of the first, Natalie literally, like, we're getting ready for the show. It's out of nowhere. She just goes, tubby time. And immediately I was like, fuck. Because if you hear the term tubby time, you know it's just this weird fucking scene where he says to Aaron...
Dude, he makes him film him while he takes a bath.
But he says to Aaron, and here's the setup. He doesn't just make him film him. He doesn't just say, like, that's the fucked up thing.
No.
He doesn't just, it'd honestly be more comfortable if he's just like, here, just film me in the fucking tub.
Yeah.
But no, he's like, no, but I'm never going to get to give my child a bath. I'm never going to get to that. When I was a kid, I had tubby time.
Mm-hmm.
I had tubby time. And I'm never going to get that with my kid. So he's like, I need you to document that for me, Aaron. And Aaron's like, this is fucking weird. Why would I film a grown man in the tub? And it is, when you picture it in your head, you're like, this is uncomfortable. No, he makes it 10 times more uncomfortable than it had to be.
Yeah.
He just finds a way to make this situation that's already fucking weird even weirder.
Well, he, like, lays back and acts like he's holding his born son. Like, he's acting like he's giving a bath.
It's like a pantomime.
Right. A lot of people say that this is probably the most uncomfortable part of the movie, and I agree. Even though nothing...
Disagree. I'll fucking tell you my most uncomfortable part here in a minute.
I think, well, yes, I already know what you're talking about, and I agree too. Okay, so we know that he's a killer. Like, I know that we're watching the movie, we know he's a killer. Like, that's from the get-go. But from just watching the movie, before the main character realizes something's off, besides this guy's just fucking weird, this is the most uncomfortable scene because it's just so fucking weird and awkward that you feel like you're sitting there holding this camcorder because it's found footage. You feel like you're sitting in the bathroom watching him tubby time. And it's just not okay. It's so uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable, but every single moment of the fucking movie is uncomfortable.
Yeah, Mark Duplass is fucking legendary.
He is fucking legendary. Yeah. I cannot agree more with that. Yeah, I've been a fan of his for a long time, but like I said, my fucking most terrifying part in the movie is the peach fuzz scene. And the peach fuzz scene...
mine's even a different one. Which
really?
I'll get
to. Well, shit, you're right. There's fucking... It gets way more intense. But the peach fuzz scene is so fucking uncomfortable to me. Because obviously the found footage genre, what it does is it just, like, it films things, like, more realistically, obviously. Mm-hmm. There's not a budget. It's not a set. It's not well lit.
It's not the perfect angle all the time.
It's a normal, natural feel to it. So the reason we find found footage so uncomfortable, I think it's similar to Uncanny Valley. We just feel like this is wrong.
Right.
We picture ourselves there. We feel like we're there. It almost feels first person and first hand. Mm-hmm. So the peach fuzz scene, and basically what he does is Joseph, like, the lights go out. Aaron fucking is trying to get out, and he finds the door, but who's standing there? It's fucking Joseph with this wolf mask that he showed Aaron earlier that he said, I call him Peach Fuzz. Mm-hmm. And he even implies, I don't know if he so much says
kind of implies that it's almost a different persona.
Bingo. That's it. That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, he implies that when he puts it on, he goes somewhere else. And I'm not talking
like a fursona. Like, this is I'm putting on the wolf mask and I'm like primal. Because, like, everybody, I feel like if you haven't seen this movie, you've probably seen this, and I might be about to blow your mind if you haven't seen it. But if you've ever seen a little video of a guy leaning up against a door with his hands out with a wolf mask on, doing this weird
gyrating his hips.
Yeah, hip gyrating circular motion. That's Peach Fuzz from Creep. And he just growls. He doesn't say anything. He shakes his head when Aaron asks questions. And it's like, it's a totally different fucking person.
It's so fucking scary because you do feel like Aaron is going to get hurt in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
And Aaron and Patrick Bryce, equally as good of an actor as he is a fucking director.
Yeah, because at that point, he's figured things out.
You feel like he does a great job of conveying something bad is about to happen to me. Mm-hmm. You hear utter fear in his fucking voice when he's saying, Joseph... And he doesn't respond. He's like Peach Fuzz, and he's like, "Are you gonna let me out?" And he does that, shaking his head no. And you're like, "Fuck!"
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so fucking scary.
You just gave me the goosies.
It's so fucking scary.
No, absolutely
hate that. But no, you said you have another scarier moment. What the fuck is yours?
I'll kind of piggyback here. So obviously at that point, he's realized something's horribly wrong. He's trying to get out, and he does. He escapes. The reason why this is so terrifying to me, and I would put this probably at my number one spot, even above the scene from Strangers where you see him behind her that you always say.
Yeah.
But there's the part where he's in his own home at this point, Aaron is.
Yeah, he's back home
and
where he should be safe, right? Yeah.
And he's recording some of his just documenting things, right? So he has a camera set up where it's like his laptop, like webcam thing. I don't remember specifically, so don't hate me there. But through where he's sleeping, you can kind of see through the living room up towards the front door, which is kind of like this partial glass. And there's a part where he hears something, and whenever he gets up and he's looking around, there's nothing there. And then something shifts across the camera just enough, and then you see Joseph is standing outside the front door. You just see his silhouette
standing,
just looking in, staring at him. But since he's not laying there where his camera is right in front of him, he doesn't see him, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
Ugh, and it makes me so uncomfortable because you realize, first off, this guy traveled far, because you're talking about the drive in the beginning. He's found him.
Yep.
He's at his house. But even past that, the scene gets even worse because it actually picks up him coming into his home in the middle of the night, like clips a fucking piece of hair or some shit off of him,
his fucking hair,
and then leaves. Doesn't wake Aaron up.
Nope.
And you get it all on video that Aaron's obviously not seeing. And to me, that the idea of being asleep, having a home invader of any kind, taking a picture of you, recording you, and you see that someone was in your house, in your space, regardless of if it was someone that you've recently escaped from, is absolutely fucking terrifying.
I don't think there's anything more terrifying than home invasion shit. Like, we've talked about this on the show. Like, The Strangers is one of our most terrifying movies because it's home invasion. Like, this is another one where it's like, this is real shit that could really happen to people.
Right.
You could, first off, you could answer the wrong Craigslist ad, but you could also just have some fucking crazy guy follow you back to your home.
Exactly. Like, then you have someone stalk you to your house.
Yeah.
And, you know, you basically, it ends with Aaron's character going out.
Agreeing to meet Joseph.
Joseph. Joseph's ashamed of all the things and that he's done and that he made him feel so scared and all this stuff. But again, at this point, he doesn't know that Joseph's been in his fucking house. And you get this just long scene of him standing at the lake, looking around, and finally deciding to sit on the bench. And then you get Joseph comes up in the car, walks up behind him, and he has an axe. And he just stands there and stares at the back of Aaron's head for what feels like forever.
It's up there with the House of a Thousand Corpses scene.
Oh, yeah, the gun.
Because you feel like it goes on for fucking ever. And each time I watch it, I feel like it goes on longer and longer.
Yeah.
But he's just standing there. He's very quiet, and he just takes out an axe, swings it above his head, and this is where most movies would cut it off. But no, they don't. You see him drive the fucking axe into Aaron's head.
Yeah.
And he just... That's it.
But he's got it on video.
Yeah.
And that leads us into the second movie where...
Yes, because you see at the end of the first movie that he takes this footage of him killing Aaron, puts it on a shelf with other footage of...
A shit ton of other tapes with
Right.
other people's names on them.
Right. So you get the idea that he has done this before and will do it again.
Yeah.
Which is, like what Natalie said, leads us to Creep 2.
Exactly. Where you get a totally different character. It's not Joseph this time.
No, he calls himself Aaron.
Yes.
Isn't that funny? He takes the name Aaron.
And yes, so he plays Aaron. His hair's a little longer. He's got a beard, and basically it's another hiring someone to film him. But he's basically admitting that he's a serial killer.
Right, and this girl is in college, and she's doing this more like a project for school. So she's trying to, get her college credits by filming this guy who says he's a serial killer. It's going to be like her big fucking thing for school, right? Mm-hmm. Wrong. You're fucking going up filming a legitimate serial killer. Yeah. So it's great. One thing that both movies do so well is they take things they do the opposite of what you would think would be done in a horror movie. It's like it's like the anti-horror movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they work so fucking well. Because of course you're not gonna go into the fucking mountains with a stranger, but in today's society that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
The shit where he's like clipping his hair and sneaking into his house. I feel like in any other movie, that's the shit that you hear them tell like a detective or they're talking to somebody, but you don't see it.
Yeah.
In this, in Creep, you see it. And like I said, with the death, with the axe, you don't see that in most movies, but you see it.
Exactly.
They do everything that you shouldn't do in a horror movie, and it fucking works.
And it
that's
carries
why
into Creep 2, yeah.
That's why Creep 2 works so well, because of course you're not going to go in and be alone with somebody who says they're a fucking serial killer.
Right, but I
she
love
does.
it. Yes, you get the scene where the girl Sarah goes into the bathroom and she sets the like camera there on the sink or whatever, and she's sitting on the toilet and she's looking and she's just like, you can tell she's thinking, and she kind of goes over like, should I do this? Like, it's probably just a bunch of bullshit. This guy's probably just some crazy guy who wants to like talk shit, and he's never actually killed anybody, and she's just kind of like, fuck it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And talks herself into it. So there's a moment where she's like,
Well, there's almost like this level of like, she doesn't believe it.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's like, she talks herself into it by like basically
calling
doubling
his
down.
bluff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doubling down on the fact that she just doesn't believe a word he's saying.
Yeah, exactly.
And it adds to this whole sentiment of like, we as the audience know he's the killer. She does not.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like he's telling her straight off the bat, "I'm the killer." So
Literally.
it takes all the expectations
Yeah.
of horror movies and just fucking completely turns them into a 180. And you're like, but it all fucking works. And I think I've said this before on the show. One of my favorite scenes in the whole fucking movie is the hot tub scene, because he just has this look,
my God, dude.
this soulless look in his eyes as she's talking to him. It's again, I know I've said this before, but Mark Duplass does such an amazing job of looking soulless and emotionless and expressionless.
He does.
In this scene in the hot tub, that you're like he's so fucking believable. Like, I don't want to believe this guy's a murderer, but if tomorrow I woke up and said, you know, famous film director and actor Mark Duplass killed a bunch of people, I'm like, well, you know, he's really fucking good.
Yeah,
he's really fucking good.
He did really well in that, because the hot tub scene that you're talking about, I remember, like, he kind of starts and there's a little kind of laughter, and they almost frame him like he's having a breakdown, like he's tired of being a serial killer.
Yeah,
like
he's a
that's
serial
why
killer
he wants
having
to
a mental
confess.
breakdown,
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does, and he's kind of, his hair's in his face. Like I said, it's a little longer. Sorry, but he's like super hot in this movie. I can't help it. But yeah, he's like all happy, just like talking, and then he just does the kind of a Kubrick stare, but in his own way, where he's just like void.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely terrifying.
Right. It's truly terrifying. And I think one thing, he's done some interviews and he's talked about this, and I think he just talks about how he like what we're talking about. He just went full unhinged. Like, he didn't hold back during this filming, and you believe it every step of the way. You're with him and you're like, fuck, this guy is one of the most insane individuals that I've ever seen in my life. Like, one of the best antagonists in any horror movie, period, is Mark Duplass as whatever the fuck this guy's name is. Joseph Aaron. I think he also goes by the name Bill in the first movie at one point. Like, when he confesses, like, oh, I'm not really Joseph, I'm Bill. Like,
maybe Bill is his real name, but we don't know.
We don't fucking know. And we never will. And like, that's the fucking great thing. But this movie also has one of my favorite scenes where he tries to make her think that he killed himself.
Yes, there's trigger warning.
Yeah,
I guess I could say.
It's a hard trigger warning.
They basically, and he tries to get her to commit with her, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, it's like this very coercive kind of setup to it. But yeah, he feigns that he's.
But it's like in the middle of the woods, like there's a hole dug and everything. Like, it's fucking weird.
Well, I'm talking about the one where he literally, like, looks like he's hanging himself.
Oh, okay.
Remember that? Yeah, that fucking...
Sorry, I'm thinking of the part in the woods.
Well, there's the part in the woods, that's the ending. But no, there's the part where he, like, makes it look like he's hanging himself. And she's like, she fucking full on believes, like, oh, fuck.
That's right.
Like,
that's right.
That's where she starts to really fucking draw the line. Like, that's
yeah,
too far.
because a lot of the stuff that that he's done before, she's just like, "Ah, God, it's bullshit. Like, it's like, I
Right.
don't believe it. Like
Right.
we said in the, talking about his initial, hey, I'm a serial killer. I want you to document me for a day. And she's just like, yeah, I think he's
She's
just
just
off
like,
his
whatever.
rocker.
He's just talking shit.
Yeah.
No, this
no,
is,
I remember now.
yeah.
It's been a minute since I've seen Creep
It has
2.
been a minute since we've seen this, but I that one stands out to me because it's like every time you look at this guy, Joseph, Aaron, whatever the fuck you want to call him, you're like, just when you're like, he can't stoop any lower, literally pretending to kill himself in front of this girl,
Yeah.
making her think that he has killed himself is fucking just like
It's awful.
lower than
Yeah.
low. And but it gets lower because, like you said, then there's the scene where they're out in the woods and he's trying to literally fucking bury her.
He stabs her and throws her in the
Yeah,
hole.
he stabs her and throws her in the hole. He's gonna fucking straight up bury her, but she fucking is not dead.
Yeah.
And then she fights back, and
Yeah, she's pretty kick-ass.
she's a great fucking female protagonist. She's a great protagonist. Like, fucking
Yeah.
take gender out of it. She's just a great protagonist.
Yeah.
She's not stupid. She's other than the fact that she just doesn't believe him.
Right,
but
but
the way you-
honestly, most people wouldn't in that situation.
When you're watching it, like she does a great job acting wise, and the writing is
Yeah.
done well enough to where you're like, huh. I get it. I can see why you wouldn't believe him. Mm-hmm. And of course Mark Duplass has just this likability to him.
He does.
I've said it before. I remember I discovered him. He did a comedic TV show called The League about fantasy football. One of the funniest fucking shows I've ever seen in my life, and he's a
That's
big
one that
reason
you
for it.
like have been hounding for me to watch just because of him.
It's just so fucking funny. It's hilarious. And he also directed a funny movie I really like called Jeff Who Lives at Home with Jason Segel and Ed Helms. Hilarious. Fucking he and
What
his
a
brother Jay
trio.
Duplass. He and his brother Jay Duplass are fucking geniuses and innovators of the mumblecore film genre.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which are those they're kind of artsy comedies. Lo-fi comedies is what I kind of like to call them because they're funny. They're not funny like ha ha ha. They're funny more like that's funny. They're those kind of movies.
I get
If
you.
you've seen movies like that, like Mark Duplass and his brother Jay Duplass direct a lot of those movies.
Yeah.
So again, to see him go from doing comedy and directing kind of mumblecore movies to just going full out fucking horror villain is this fascinating career transition of Mark Duplass, and he does everything expertly with this fucking precision where you're like, he's just good at everything.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
He's phenomenal. Like I'm such a huge fan of his work.
I want a Creep 3 because, spoiler here, she gets out of
She
her
does
own
get out.
grave. And you don't get as much of the super scary home invasion-y stuff, but you get a lovely little ending recording through a crowd of her on a bus, and you hear a tune being whistled, and then she notices the camera, and then it abruptly stops. So you figured out that he's found her because
Yes.
she does escape.
And now he's the one filming.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's a really again, creepy. He likes to document, obviously with Aaron in the first movie, he likes to have that shit recorded because he does turn on the camera to record him like cutting the hair. So it's on the tape. Kind of ironic that if he had just watched his tape back, he would have seen it and maybe have been able to not fucking get killed. But
Yeah.
most people don't do that.
Nope.
So it's why I guess I like to rewatch all my shit, make sure no one's in my house, like a creep.
Yeah, it's a great message at the end. Is like, check your shit.
Yeah.
For Aaron. But yeah, the ending with Creep 2 where she's on like the bus or the train or whatever, and it's just that split second if she looks up and the minute. It's timed so fucking well.
Is.
And Patrick Brice directed the second one as well. He just wasn't in it as an actor this time.
Right.
But he does this great job, and it's literally the moment she glances up and it realizes it's Aaron, Joseph, whatever you want to call him. Mm-hmm. And the film just cuts out, and you're like, holy shit balls. And again, these movies are left open. Like, if you would have told me Creep was a standalone movie and they were not going to do a sequel, I'd be like, makes sense. But they did a great sequel. Same thing. If that's how it ends or it keeps going, I'm not going to be disappointed either way.
Yeah, I love that you can watch both of these totally separate because obviously you can go into the second movie, you know who he is.
Right.
But even if you didn't watch the first movie and you watch the second one, you're not missing anything. It's just basically like watching another one of his tapes, honestly, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, and I think they've got so much material to do a third movie, but like I was talking about, they're almost like anti-horror movies. So I think now that you've done this twice, how do you do an anti-horror movie 3 times?
Right.
And I think that's the challenge. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those movies, like, I look at it on paper, I'm like, you know what? It's going to be tough to do a third movie and maintain the level of quality and the integrity that they have for the first 2 movies.
Right.
So I would rather them take their time, do a solid third movie. If they want to do a third movie, I'm glad they're not rushing it. And but yeah, also if they can't come up with an idea that holds up to the first 2 movies, I think we just need to admit to ourselves as horror fans, sometimes it's better to just let a franchise die than to just keep it going with shitty fucking sequels.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that because a lot of people tend to rate the second one higher, and I can kind of see why. I feel like it flows a little bit differently than the first movie, but they're both so fucking perfect to me. Like, I really don't have a fault with either of these
Neither
movies.
one. They're both 10s. Yeah, they're both 10 out of 10 for me.
And honestly, if we're being real, even with Ma, which, you know, critically is rated much lower than the Creep movies, I still fucking love so much. There's so much fun shit. And again, like we said earlier, a lot of deep discussions that can be brought out of this movie. And same thing with 10 Cloverfield Lane. Like, I know we're joking a little bit about the state of the world right now, and a lot of people going, should I get a survival pack? Between people watching The Last of Us and being scared of mushrooms and chemical spills, we're
Right.
all on fucking edge. And I think that these kind of movies are really good about getting those juices flowing, because when you take out the aliens, which again aren't too far off for us right now, it feels like, the idea of having these safety measures in place like they do in 10 Cloverfield Lane, and, you know, not fucking bullying and assaulting people to potentially create more horrible people in the world.
Also, don't drink underage, and don't try to get fucking adults to buy your beer for you, because they could fucking kill you.
Yeah, they could be like, come drink at my house.
Yeah.
Like, no.
It's like, hey, thanks for coming to my place in the middle of nowhere. I can easily fucking kill you, you dumb kid.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of, and there's lessons to be learned. Like, we joke about the whole stranger danger thing, but at the same time, it's like, you know, these movies are fucking lessons. Like, just be fucking careful and fucking, like, don't trust anybody, but just be aware of people like this. Like,
well, it's funny.
These are parables. Don't let the lesson go unlearned.
Exactly. I've seen videos that again make me feel like I can't have a single individual experience, but I feel like I was definitely one of those teenagers who rode home in the back of a stranger's car at 2 a.m. Just because they were like a cousin of a friend that a friend was dating, and like I kind of, you know, and they're just like fucking drinking and smoking and driving my 15-year-old ass home, and it's like, yeah, we did a lot of shit, and obviously people always will, but
meanwhile, now we have to take our heartburn medicine before we eat anything with red sauce,
and we get anxiety about going to the store where people are.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny how we've aged both physically and mentally, and just shit ain't the same as it was.
But horror movies, I think, have always really kind of made me a little bit more wary. I know we joked about the Final Destination with the log trucks, which is a very real, scary thing. But even when I was 15 and I watched Halloween, it made me terrified of home invasion, because that's what Michael Myers felt like back then.
It's a home invasion movie too. Yeah, the babysitter murders. Yeah.
Yeah, before you gave him all of his different timelines and stories, he was at his core home invasion killer and stranger danger.
Yeah, yeah. Guys, this has been a fun episode on Stranger Danger. I feel like we've delved into a lot here, and hopefully you've learned something, because that's what we're here for. We want to be educational as well as
fun and entertaining.
Yeah, we're infotainment.
Oh, no. Never.
And guys, without further ado, we're going to leave you with this.
Don't make me drink alone. Don't make me drink alone.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes drop every weekend. Follow us on TikTok at HorrorZoidPod, and send emails to horrorzoidpod@gmail.com with your thoughts, questions, and stories for us to read on a future episode. To all our Zoids out there, stay scary.